Hello everyone to a very special episode of Manage Wealth with me, Divya Tusnial. Today we welcome a very special guest from the BFSI industry. Let's welcome with a round of applause our guest Yashish Dahiya, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of the insurance aggregator and global technology company Policy Bazaar. So Yashish, post the COVID pandemic, we see some of the key shifts in the consumer behavior. What do you have to say on that?
Two major shifts. One is fear has gone away from the consumer's mind. So during COVID, there was a fear of, health risk, death risk, heightened fear, a heightened awareness. That seems to have gone away, and the consumer is in a very, I would almost say, belligerent situation where they're saying, look, nothing wrong can happen to me. Even if it happens, it's okay. That has had some impact in terms of demand for health insurance and life insurance. Thankfully, it is still growing, but that has had some impact. The second thing we are seeing is because there's been movements in the market, people are looking for a lot more guaranteed returns, fixed returns kind of products. So there's been shift in both the risk side of the products as well as the saving side of the product, where earlier people were very comfortable with the market linked products. Now people say, I'm okay with that, but I need to make sure that my capital is protected, or I need to make sure I have a certain minimum guaranteed return, or I have some kind of a fixed deposit kind of product, or a fixed return kind of product. So there's a lot more demand for that. These are the two shifts we are seeing emerging. I don't believe these are lasting shifts because, the consumer's mind is always very recency driven. So I do believe it'll open up.
So you've been into insurance, selling insurance, life, mediclaim in general for over last 1 decade, more than a decade, and
15 years, yes.
1.5 decades. So how do you see next 10 years from here in the consumer behavior or maybe the insurance shifts?
For a country our size, the protection element of our industry is extremely small. So I will just share some numbers with you. I know this is not about numbers, but in general, the total fresh health insurance business that happens in our country for the retail, for all our consumers, if you take away churn and, whatever, is only about 400 crore rupees a month.
Okay.
Which is quite small for a country this size.
Yes.
The total term insurance business we do as a country is about 250 crores a month for retail.
Okay.
So if you think about it, both of these put together, which is the protection element of our industry, is only about 650 crores for a month.
That's quite small.
It's extremely small, right? There are companies abroad which are much, much bigger than the entire country. And our country is very large, and our country has a huge need for protection. So I don't see how that doesn't grow, because that's a crying need. If somebody dies or if somebody falls sick, they need that insurance. I think the savings element as well, it's been going up every year on a very steady basis. And I think there is a lot more understanding for the need of pensions now. There's a lot more understanding for the need, essentially, of annuities, cost planning for children. So I believe both the savings element as well as the protection element, both would grow. I think number of cars will also grow, but I think that part of the industry has lots of challenges in terms of profitability. But yeah, that's my view. I see a lot of growth in the next 10 years. I do see a steady shift towards protection because protection was very, very small. It is still quite small. So I think over the next 10 years, if you look at the percentage of protection in the overall business, that would grow.
Yeah, because in our country, we do not have a social security system like some of the foreign countries.
Absolutely.
And the kind of social fabric we live in, which is not joint family anymore. So the need for protection is very, very high.
The need for pension, term insurance and health insurance is extremely high for exactly the reason you say, joint family system breaking down, and because joint family system was our insurance. But because it was a large family, somebody was always there.
Yes.
But now we need it.
True. So, but then yes, when we talk about the retirement planning or the pension, of course, that's also become one of the key shift because risk of living too long is predominantly luring high on the customer.
Yes, and again, because of the joint family system breaking down, earlier it was always the family took care of the elderly. So there was no problem. The elderly person was also in the family and they were always taken care of. I think that from family support is dwindling, and for a lot of people there is a fear. I live in Noida, for example, and I see a lot of people my parents' age, etc. And the children are not there. The children are either abroad or they are doing something or they are working. Everybody has work pressures these days. Even families are staying separately and working in 2 different cities.
Correct.
So everybody has work pressure. So yes, I think pensions, and during old age there are also health costs. People may not have thought those through, and they do need to think them through.
Plus, you may need money to pursue your hobbies or travel.
Absolutely, absolutely. All those things require.
You do not have any steady flow of income, but
Absolutely.
you need some free packet of money.
Absolutely. Grandchildren also come over. You want to also be nice to them.
Indulging.
So, indulging. So you, for all those things, earlier it was with the joint family system, it was easier. And I think the key issue is the joint family system breaking down.
Yes.
Which I think is quite celebrated at a younger age, but at the older age you do feel the pinch of it.
So how did you start with your Policy Bazaar journey? I heard that you had some kind of conversation with your father about doing a comparison website, and then...
There were 2 or 3 pieces, right? So the story is quite straightforward. My father is a retired army officer.
Okay.
And since 2003, he had been buying insurance policies every year. And they used to give him about 7, 8, 10% every year. And he was happy with that return because the fixed deposit used to give him about that time. And this was tax-free. So he was very happy with that return. But he never understood what product he was buying.
Okay.
And so in 2008, when the market crashed, for those who remember, it became about 40% of where it was very rapidly. So the market was 21,000 and went down to 8,000.
Yes.
So his money became suddenly 1/3.
Okay.
And this was collected over the years, so it was about 20 lakh rupees. So it suddenly became 6-7 lakh rupees. And he was very surprised that why did that happen? So I told him it must have been linked to the market.
Yes.
And remember, he's an old man, you
Yes.
know, for
And all his savings.
It's his lifetime savings, right? So, but he, he didn't understand because he thought these were some kind of fixed return products. So when I explained to him, he said, "ये तो मेरा उल्लू बनाया है." Right? And he was very angry. He actually called the person who had sold to him because he didn't believe me. I told him, I'll call the person and he'll explain to you. So I called the person and then they had a conversation. And I still remember that conversation because that person was having tea. And my father, he's been a commando with the Indian Army. He's a pretty tough person. But at that stage, he just told that person, "Chai niche rakho, mera ghar chhod ke jao."
Oh my God.
And because he was very angry, but that was all he did. But at that point, I started Policy Bazaar because I said consumers need to be educated about what they are buying, so that they don't have this kind of situation like my father.
Yeah.
Right? So they know what they are buying. It's very, very important for them. Whether they like the product, don't like the product, that's their choice. But they have to at least know what they are buying, what the surrender charges are, what the cancellation, what is the likely return they're going to get, what is the return other people have received. They need to be aware. And what kind of product are they buying? What's the underlying thing here? Is it a market-linked product? Is it a guaranteed return product? What is it? Right? So we started off with that. And if you recollect, in 2008, our first campaign, 2009, was Ullu Mat Bano.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the story.
Nice. So Yashish, your hiring policy sets you apart because you tend to identify individuals with the right values you decide to work with. So why is it like this? We've discovered this over time because earlier we were just hiring people. Okay.
But we discovered that there was a certain trait in Policy Bazaar in all our employees which made them feel good at Policy Bazaar and which made us feel good about them at Policy Bazaar. And that trait was, I don't want to overemphasize this, but it was an iota of selflessness. And what that means is there are times when you are able to put others ahead of your interest. So you will always have your interest and somebody else's interest. At times, there's a benefit of 100 rupees to somebody, and there's a loss of 10 rupees to you. And you have the ability to take that because you can see that somebody else is going to benefit more. If you do not have that ability at all, then at some level you would not fit into Policy Bazaar. So in the interview stage, we about 8 years ago, we've started the company about 14, 15 years ago, but about 8 years ago, we had crystallized this, that this seems to be the one thing that sets people apart in Policy Bazaar. And we started looking for that during the interview.
That's very nice.
Thank you.
Yashish, do you believe in diversification or a more consolidated approach in your business?
So I think in financial decisions, where I am a passive person, I prefer diversification. But most of my efforts are towards active, like either setting up a business or something like that. So there I prefer a far more consolidated or single-pronged approach. Yeah, that's basically it. So wherever I'm doing an active piece, because I have the ability to be knowledgeable about very, very few things. So I would rather have a focused approach or consolidated approach, as you say. And in non-active, passive decisions, as diversified as possible.
So how is the consumer behavior different in the UAE market and the Indian market?
See, every market is very different. The UAE market is one where a lot of expats are there. And they have to eventually return to their home country, or 80% of them have to return to their home country. So they have to keep one eye there, one eye back in
home.
India, or one eye act forward. So it's not backwards or forwards, but basically there are lots of people who say, I don't want my children to be in the UAE, I would like them to be in the US or UK. And so they are investing towards building that ability. There are a lot of people who are saying, okay, I have to retire back into India, so I must have my health insurance, life insurance, pensions somehow linked to India, because that is when I will be needing it. Sometimes that behavior, it comes from the client or the customer. Sometimes you have to explain that behavior to people or get that imbibed into their mind. But I think both of them are there. But that's a bulk of the UAE thought process. It is very little for today. It is much more for the future. Whereas India, because of the miss on social security at a middle class level, we believe there is a lot of customer education required, where customers become aware of the fact that they have this issue and they have to solve for this issue, and nobody else is going to come and solve for it. So they can buy more health insurance and life insurance. So slightly different. In the UAE, health insurance is mandatory for anybody working. You cannot be in the UAE if you're not working. So a lot of basics are taken care of.
Yeah.
But yeah, the retirement part is there.
Yeah. So basically they have a more diversified approach on the geography which they will be following maybe going forward, and in India
Yes.
it's more focused on the geography because they're sure they are going to be here.
Yeah, a lot of people in India are quite sure they're going to be here. And while the UAE, you could stay in the UAE, you could come back to India, or you could go to the US or Canada or
So
Australia.
that opening has to be there.
Yes.
Okay. So Yashish, what would be your advice to the younger generation who've graduated from the B school and looking for career opportunities?
I think risk is overrated. Opportunities are underrated, or whatever, right? Growth is underrated. So I think I would advise them to take risks and set their goals on whatever they wish for. And I'm very confident they will achieve it. I know it seems like an advice everybody gives, but through my experience, that's what I've learned, that we think a lot of things will go wrong. We are very worried at times. But we don't know what all opportunities will come along the way. And eventually, we can't see everything today. We can only see what we can do now, or what we can do in the next few days or few months or few years. Even years is very difficult to predict. For a lifetime, it's very, very difficult to predict. So you don't know what all opportunities will come. So I think what I wanted to say was risks are always overrated, because you can see what all can go wrong. You cannot always see what all opportunities will arise. So opportunities underrated. So go ahead and take your chances, is what I would say.
Oh, that's a piece of good advice to the youngsters, all those who are listening to us today. So having been responsible for creating 70 millionaires and 350 crore-patis with the Policy Bazaar IPOs, so how do you, or what advice would you like to give the budding entrepreneurs or the MSME owners, business owners?
No, first of all, these individuals deserve everything they got. I'm very grateful that many of them are also grateful. It felt extremely good when somebody posted a message to me saying, I've bought this house or I've bought this car for my parents, and I really want to thank you for the opportunity. It felt very good. They didn't have to thank me because honestly, they have created it. I think one of the things we have done well at Policy Bazaar is we have a huge amount of shared equity.
Okay.
So, the management has a lot of equity, and we have it dispersed amongst, in many places, only the founders have equity, the management doesn't have enough. So we've done it the other way around. The founders have have enough equity, but the management has a lot more.
Okay.
And we've done it that way. And to me, that also brings in a sense of belonging, a sense of ownership. In tough times, you will stay the course and you will build the organization together. So I think it's an advice I would give to every entrepreneur, that share equity with others. Do not keep it all to yourself. Because if you do, when the problems come, you'll be the only one fighting. The others will not fight alongside you. And yes, I'm very grateful to those who've thanked me, but they don't need to thank me. I think they've clearly built it themselves. In fact, I should be thanking them.
But it's quite evident you've touched many lives.
I am very happy. I feel very good. We employ about 14,000 people.
14,000.
I feel 14,000 people. So I feel very good about the fact that almost 40,000 people are getting their livelihood eventually, because it's a family. It's not just one individual. One person works with us, but he's supporting a family back home. That as an endeavor, we've been able to support 40,000 people's lives. And I feel very, very proud about that. I feel very good because in some ways I believe if I had not started Policy Bazaar, a lot of health insurance may not have happened, a lot of life insurance may not have happened, but also these 40,000, I don't know if all of them would have been in an equal opportunity or something less.
So going forward from here, Policy Bazaar, how do you see it in next 20 years, or what is it that's still lacking and you are looking forward to it?
See, the total health insurance and life insurance business in the country is very, very small. Term insurance and health insurance. Put together, I think it is less than 600-700 crores a month. It is extremely small. So I think our job is definitely not done. We have to keep growing this, the fresh business, right? People talk about all kinds of numbers. That includes renewals, that includes people we've sold to 10 years ago. I'm saying, how many extra people are we able to sell to, let's say in the month of June, in the month of May, in the month of April? Those numbers are around that, 650 crores a month. And I think we have a good role to play in that, but this number needs to be 10,000 crores. And because India is a big country and people are in dire need of health insurance and life insurance. So I think the focus is that there are lots of routes to getting there. So yeah, we're still early stage, I would say.
Thank you, Yashish, for sharing such wonderful insight in the whole
Thank you.
episode. So we come to the most interesting part of the episode, which is a rapid fire round. I
Sure.
hope you're ready about it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you.
Let's go for it.
So Zoom call or a physical meeting for you?
Physical meeting, clearly.
Really. What describes you best? Working hard, hardly working, working hard and playing hard?
I think working hard and playing hard, because I do a lot of other things also.
Wow. Complete this famous phrase in your own style. Jack of all trades is a master of none.
I think if you become a master in one thing, it helps you become a master in other things also. So I would say, don't be afraid of doing multiple things. It will not necessarily make you a jack of everything.
Nice. So history, science or art, what do you prefer on a holiday?
I actually don't prefer any one of them, but if any of them, it will be history.
Okay. Otherwise, what do you prefer?
I
Adventure?
usually prefer active holidays, so sports. I usually prefer going for a run with my family or a swim with my family.
So go-getter or a goal setter?
Clearly go-getter.
Really go-getter. Cars or bikes?
Bikes, they make you feel the air.
Yes.
But yes, I'm getting a bit old, so now it's increasingly cars. But yes, I would. In the heart, there's always bikes.
I was expecting this answer from you. Long drives or a Delhi metro?
No, long drives, definitely.
Definitely. You only live once or you only die once?
You only die once.
Wow, that can be a tagline to your Policy Bazaar.
I don't know. No, the tagline is "Har family hogi insured." But yeah, this is a tagline for me. You only die once, so you don't need to be afraid of death. It doesn't happen multiple times.
Yeah. Chitrahar or Billboard's top 10?
Chitrahar is okay. You know, I don't have to think.
We still remember that 8 p.m. Friday.
Yeah. It was very nice.
Wednesday. Saurabh Ganguly or Virat Kohli?
Virat Kohli.
Okay. Your life in one word?
Never given.
Oh, I should have guessed that. So we come to the end of this show. So thank you, Yashish, for a wonderful show.
Thank you very much.
I hope our viewers enjoyed it as much as we did.
I hope they did. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Manage Wealth with me, Divya Tusnial. Do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, and connect with me for any query on the financial market on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Manage Wealth show handles, or write to me on divyatusnial.com.